very much. Let's give it up for the band. And then for my little children who did the cultural performance, I think they did a great job. Thank you very much. Enough protocol has been established. Distinguished personalities here have been introduced, and I just want to proceed on that established protocol. Let me thank Haruna and his team in the education sector, and to commend you and congratulate you for the hard work that you've done to realize most of the promises we put in the 2024 manifesto. We have a manifesto dashboard where we are tracking the promises we made, and I must say the education sector is very ahead in terms of implementation. So Haruna, you, APAC, and your team, Get Fund, GTEC, STLF, all of you, I just want to say, Aiko. When I was inaugurated, just to elaborate on the announcement Haruna made, when I was inaugurated as president, the Chinese president sent an envoy to represent him. And that envoy, as is the practice of China, announced a 200 million yuan grant to celebrate our inauguration. As he said, it's equivalent to almost $30 million. And so we devoted that money for establishment of the Aflao market. I had promised during the campaign that to complement trade between Ghana and Togo, we're also going to establish a market on our end. Everybody knows Togo Ashigame. And so we want Ghana Ashigame. And so And so we dedicated that 200 million yuan for the Aflao market. And then recently, I was invited by President Xi Jinping again on an official visit to China on the sidelines of 30 years of Beijing Declaration on Women. And as part of that visit, during the bilateral that I had with him, he announced another 200 million yuan. It meant another $30 million as a grant to commemorate my visit to China. And so just yesterday, we had a meeting with the Catholic Secretariat. They've been planning a science university in the northern part of the country. And so they decided that they'll site the university in the Savannah region in Damango. And I pledged that the $30 million that I was giving, we will use it as the seed money to begin the campus of that university. That university will be devoted to science and technology, robotics, artificial intelligence, digital science, advanced medicine training. And so it's going to be a specialized university that will produce some of the most advanced, scientists and technologists that we need for the 21st century. And so I want to thank Haruna and his team very much, and to thank the Catholic Church for the collaboration that we're going to have in establishing this university. But of course, as has been said, it was one of our promises to establish public universities or their campuses in the 6 new regions. And so the Ministry of Education and the National Council on Tertiary Education are all working on it so that we can begin that process. It would help all our students who want tertiary education to be able to get a university or a higher educational institution that is not too far away from them. So we want to bring tertiary education to the doorstep of Ghanaian youth. Today, We gather to mark a new and defining moment in Ghana's journey towards inclusion and equality. The launch of the Free Tertiary Education for Persons with Disabilities initiative, which is under the theme Disability, Not Inability, Advancing Inclusive Access to Higher Education under the Reset Agenda. This initiative is not merely a policy launch. It is an activation of our national conscience and our sense of equity and justice. It is a reminder that the soul of any nation is measured by how it treats its most vulnerable citizens. And as President Mandela said, a nation should not be judged by how it treats its highest citizens, but its lowest ones. According to the 2021 Population and Housing Census, there are more than 2 million Ghanaians living with disability. But behind this statistic, behind this figure, are real human stories. Stories of perseverance, of talent waiting to be nurtured, and of dreams that deserve to be fulfilled. Too many still face barriers of poverty, of stigma, of lack of access to education and livelihood opportunity. These are not just individual challenges. They represent a national loss. When we exclude, we waste talent. But when we include and empower, we multiply national progress. Our collective task, therefore, is to ensure that no Ghanaian is denied the chance to learn, to work, and to serve because of disability. Ghana has not been idle in this effort. In 2006, under the administration of President Kufuor, Parliament passed Act 715, the Persons with Disability Act. In 2012, under my leadership, Ghana ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, aligning the country's laws with global standards of equality and dignity. In 2015, we introduced the Inclusive Education Policy, which opened mainstream schools to learners with disabilities and began the process of transforming our educational culture. Today, we're advancing that vision one bold step further. The Free Tertiary for Persons with Disability initiative fulfills a pledge I made to the people of Ghana to make higher education accessible to all, regardless of fiscal condition or circumstances. Under this program, persons with disability who gain admission into accredited public tertiary institutions will have their fees fully covered by the state. The implementation of this initiative will be led by the revamped Student Loan Trust Fund, which is now modernized and digitized to ensure transparency, efficiency, and sustainability. Let me note that the National Service Authority had administered a limited scholarship for persons with disability in the past. But with this launch today, we're integrating the scholarship administered by the National Scholarships Authority in the past with a new Universal Disability Scholarship under the Student Loan Fund Trust. And let me emphasize, this initiative is not an act of charity. It is an act of justice and equality. It is a strategic investment in Ghana's most valuable resource, that is, its people. Each student supported under this policy becomes an asset to our nation. A potential engineer, a teacher, an entrepreneur, a farmer or innovator, Their success will strengthen Ghana's economy and enrich our collective humanity. To make inclusion a lived reality, my government will roll out a comprehensive set of complementary actions. And the first is legislative reform. And if you notice when your president spoke, he spoke about the Disability Amendment Act. We'll introduce a Persons with Disability Amendment Act and a legislative instrument, an ally, to modernize Ghana's disability rights regime and ensure effective enforcement. So this new Amendment Act would amend the Persons with Disability Act that was passed in 2006 in order to bring it up to date with current realities. The second is health, attention, and early assessment. We'll establish in each district a disability health and resource center. To provide specialized health assessments and build a credible national health database for persons with disability for informed action. The third is rehabilitation and empowerment. We'll construct and upgrade rehabilitation centers in all regions to support fiscal recovery and vocational training for persons with disability. And the fourth is on local governance integration. Every district assembly, metropolitan, municipal, and district assembly will establish a disability desk. These disability desks will integrate disability issues into the district assembly's development planning. We would enforce a minimum 5% employment quota for persons with disability. %5 employment quota for persons with disability. And this will be across public and private sectors. For private sector organizations that meet the quota, they will be given tax incentives. And every public sector, through their ministers, will have to report annually that they have met the 5% quota. The next is gender empowerment. We will launch dedicated programs for women with disability, providing them with entrepreneurship grants and leadership training. The seventh is accessibility and infrastructure. We will enforce the Ghana accessibility standards for all public buildings and facilities. In 2026 will be 10 years since the enforcement of accessibility to public buildings was meant to be enforced. Therefore, in the Amendment Act to Act 715, we will increase the term of imprisonment for persons who refuse to comply. And we'll also increase the fines that they have to pay. Act 715 says the penalty for not complying is 3 months in prison or 600 cedis. 600 cedis is too small. So in the new act, we're going to increase the penalty, and maybe we increase the imprisonment from 3 months to 6 months. And there's more good news. Next year, in the District Assembly's Common Fund formula, we intend to increase the allocation to persons with disability from 3% to 5%. Thank you. Thank you. And the disability desks in every district assembly will, in consultation with the local branch of the Ghana Federation of the Disabled, will prepare a budget each year for how they intend to spend the 5% that has been allocated to them. And then, another good news. We intend to introduce a system for distributing rechargeable motorized wheelchairs for persons with disability. And so, after that good news, I've directed all ministers of state to review their obligations under the Disability Act and present action plans for full compliance within the shortest possible time. Every year, as part of the obligation of ministers, they will have to provide a report on how they've complied with the Disability Act. And so I call on the private sector, civil society, our development partners, universities, and media to join hands in this noble mission. Let us transform our national attitudes from commiseration to partnership, from exclusion to empowerment, and from sympathy to solidarity. Together, we must build a culture that is inclusive and celebrates differences and values the contribution of every single one of our citizens. This initiative envisions a Ghana where a visually impaired student becomes a software engineer. It envisages a Ghana where a young woman in a wheelchair earns her law degree and comes out to defend the voiceless. It envisions a Ghana where a child with hearing impairment grows up to be a teacher, to heal, or even lead his nation. This is the inclusive Ghana we dream of, a nation where opportunity, not disability, defines our destiny. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Free Tertiary Education for Persons with Disability initiative is a landmark in Ghana's story of social justice. It affirms that inclusion is not a favor, it is a right, and that equality is not charity, it is the foundation of our national progress. Let this prove that Ghana chooses justice over indifference, that Ghana chooses inclusion over exclusion. And so with the pride in our national compassion and faith in our collective future, I hereby have the privilege to declare the Free Tertiary for Persons with Disability initiative officially launched. Ladies and gentlemen, may this program light the path for many generations to come. May it remind us that every Ghanaian, regardless of their ability, deserves to dream and to rise as far as they can. May God bless our persons living with disability, our students, and our beloved home, Ghana. I thank you for your attention.